If you're not a Sigma male, click off this video right now. This isn't for you. This message is specifically for the men who operate differently, who see what others don't, who walk their own path. What I'm about to tell you will either change your life or confirm what you already knew deep down. Look, I know you're used to content that tries to appeal to everyone, that waters down the message to avoid offending anyone, that speaks in generalities, so it applies to the masses. This isn't that. This is a direct message to Sigma males specifically. If you're here because you're curious or you think you might be one, you're about to find out for sure. If you know you're a Sigma male, what I'm about to say is going to hit different than anything you've heard before. This is the conversation nobody else is having with you. The truth nobody else will tell you, and you need to hear it. Oh, and by the way, I've got something very special for you. Sigma's Black Book of Untouchable Power. It's an ebook that contains the forbidden secret knowledge that will turn you into the man others fear and respect. Warning, this will be deleted soon. The elite don't want you to see this. Grab it in the description section or pinned comment below. 1. You've been lied to about your greatest strength. Every video about Sigma males celebrates your independence like it's your superpower. And it is. But here's what they're not telling you. Your independence is simultaneously your greatest strength and your greatest vulnerability. And the reason nobody talks about this is because acknowledging vulnerability contradicts the entire Sigma male brand. But you and I both know something others don't. Real strength includes knowing your weaknesses. And your weakness is that your independence makes you a target for a very specific kind of exploitation. You don't fall for obvious manipulation. You see through social games. You recognize when people are trying to use status or emotion to control you. That's not your vulnerability. Your vulnerability is isolation disguised as choice. People can't control you directly, so they don't try. Instead, they let you isolate yourself. They let you cut yourself off. They let you walk away from connections. And you think you're being strategic. You think you're protecting yourself. But here's what's actually happening. By isolating yourself, you're removing your ability to verify reality with trusted others. You're eliminating the people who would tell you when you're wrong. You're cutting off the perspectives that would challenge your thinking. And in that isolation, you become vulnerable to the one person who can still manipulate you, yourself. Your independence means you trust your own judgment absolutely. But your judgment isn't infallible. And when you have no one you trust to reality check your thinking, you can convince yourself of anything. You can rationalize any decision. You can justify any path. That's the lie, that your independence makes you immune to manipulation. You're not immune. You're just vulnerable to a different kind. The kind where you manipulate yourself into thinking isolation is strength, detachment is wisdom, and walking away from everything is strategic. The truth they're not telling you is that your independence needs to be balanced with selective interdependence. Not dependence. Interdependence. Having a small number of people you actually trust who can tell you when you're full of it. Without that, you're just running on your own programming with no error correction. And eventually, unchecked systems develop serious bugs. 2. The pattern you keep repeating. Here's something you need to hear. You have a pattern. You probably already know what it is, but you've been explaining it away instead of addressing it. The pattern is this. You connect with someone, things are good. Then you start seeing their flaws, their needs, their humanity. And you begin the withdrawal process. You start creating distance, finding reasons why it won't work, building the case for why you're better off alone. And eventually, you leave. Or you create conditions that make them leave. And you tell yourself it was the right decision. They were too needy, too dramatic, too demanding. The relationship was limiting your freedom. Then you're alone again, which feels right for a while until you meet someone else and the whole pattern repeats. You've done this multiple times with romantic partners, with friends, maybe even with family. The pattern is so consistent you could predict it. But you keep telling yourself each situation was unique. Each person was uniquely wrong for you. That's not what's happening. What's happening is you have an attachment pattern that pulls you toward connection and then pushes you away once connection becomes real. You're not protecting your independence. You're protecting yourself from vulnerability. And there's a difference. Independence is about not needing external validation. What you're doing is avoiding intimacy by labeling it as protecting independence. But those aren't the same thing. Real independence would mean you could be close to someone without losing yourself. You could be vulnerable without falling apart. You could commit without feeling trapped. What you have isn't independence. It's avoidant attachment with better marketing. And until you admit that, you'll keep repeating the pattern. Keep meeting people. Keep connecting. Keep withdrawing. Keep ending up alone and telling yourself it's what you wanted. But here's the question you need to ask yourself honestly. Is it what you wanted, or is it what feels safe? Because if you're being truly honest, you know the difference. You know that what you call preference is actually protection. What you call strategy is actually fear. What you call independence is actually isolation you're choosing, because it's less scary than intimacy. The pattern will keep repeating until you address what's actually driving it. And what's driving it isn't a preference for independence. It's a terror of what happens if you let someone all the way in. 3. What you're actually running from. Let's talk about what you don't want to talk about. What you're actually running from when you protect your independence so aggressively. You're not running from commitment. You're not running from responsibility. You're not running from losing your freedom. You're running from being known. The thought of someone truly knowing you, seeing all of you, understanding how you actually think and feel is terrifying. Not because you're ashamed of yourself, but because being fully known means being fully vulnerable. And vulnerability means they could hurt you in ways surface-level people can't. So you keep everyone at the distance where they can see enough to be interested, but not enough to really know you. You share information, but not emotions. You're present, but not intimate. You're connected, but not close. And you've gotten so good at this that you might not even realize you're doing it anymore. It just feels like how you naturally are. Independent, private, self-contained. But that's not natural independence. That's strategic distance. And the strategy is designed to protect you from being hurt by ensuring nobody can get close enough to hurt you. The problem is that nobody can get close enough to love you either. Nobody can get close enough to truly matter. Nobody can get close enough to build something real with. You've optimized for safety and ended up with emptiness. And the really brutal part is that you know this. You know you're doing it. You've known for a while, but admitting it means admitting you're afraid. And Sigma males aren't supposed to be afraid. You're supposed to be confident, self-assured, unshakable. So you keep the truth buried. You keep performing independence while actually just hiding. You keep telling yourself you're strong while actually just being scared. What you're running from is the possibility that if someone really knew you, they might not love what they find. That vulnerability might lead to rejection. That intimacy might lead to abandonment. That letting someone in might end with them walking out. And rather than risk that, you just don't let anyone in. Ever. You control the outcome by ensuring the outcome is always the same. You alone, safe, protected, and empty. 4. The choice you need to make. Here's where this gets real. You have a choice to make, and you're the only one who can make it. You can continue down the path you're on. Keep optimizing for independence. Keep protecting your autonomy. Keep walking away from anything that requires compromise. Keep building the perfect isolated life, and you'll succeed. You'll achieve complete independence, total autonomy, zero vulnerability, perfect self-sufficiency, and you'll be alone. Deeply, profoundly, permanently alone. Or you can make a different choice. You can decide that independence is a tool, not a goal. That autonomy serves life, it doesn't replace it. That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the price of connection. That some things are worth compromising your perfect freedom for. This doesn't mean becoming dependent. It doesn't mean losing yourself. It doesn't mean settling for mediocre relationships or compromising your standards. It means being willing to be truly known by a select few people. Being willing to build something with someone, even though building with someone means coordination and compromise. Being willing to stay when your instinct is to run. The first path is easier. It's what you're already doing. It requires nothing new from you. Just more of the same. More isolation. More protection. More independence. The second path is harder. It requires you to do things that feel wrong. To stay when you want to leave. To be vulnerable when you want to protect. To let someone in when you want to shut down. But here's what you need to understand. The first path leads nowhere you actually want to be. I've shown you where it leads. The regret. The emptiness. The realization that you built the wrong life. The second path is scary. But it's the only one that leads to something that actually matters. You're at a fork. You might not realize it because there's no dramatic moment, no obvious decision point. But you're choosing right now. Every day, you continue your current pattern. You're choosing the first path. Every person you push away, you're choosing isolation. Every time you protect your independence at the cost of connection, you're choosing emptiness. The question is, are you choosing it consciously, or are you just defaulting to what feels safe? Because if you're choosing it consciously, if you genuinely want to be alone and you're at peace with that, fine. Own it. But be honest about what you're choosing and where it leads. But if you're defaulting to it because it's safe, because you're scared, because you don't know how to do anything else, then you need to make a different choice. And you need to make it now. Not later. Not when you're ready. Now. Because later might be too late. The window for building meaningful relationships doesn't stay open forever. The people who would build something with you won't wait forever. The opportunity to create something that matters doesn't last indefinitely. Choose. 5. What happens next? If you're still here, you're ready to hear what comes next. You don't become a different person. You don't stop being a Sigma male. You don't lose your independence or your ability to think for yourself or your comfort with solitude. You just add something you've been missing. The willingness to be vulnerable with people who've earned it. The capacity to build something with someone even though it requires compromise. The courage to stay instead of run when things get real. This starts small. You don't revolutionize your entire life tomorrow. You make one different choice. The next time your instinct is to create distance from someone who's trying to get closer, you don't. You stay. You let them in a little bit more. You see what happens. It will feel wrong. Your every instinct will tell you to protect yourself, to pull back, to maintain control, and you acknowledge that feeling and do it anyway. You find one person, maybe two, who you decide to actually let know you. Not everyone, not the masses. Just one or two people who've demonstrated they're trustworthy, and you practice vulnerability with them. Share something real, something you normally wouldn't share. See if the world ends. It won't. You stay in a relationship past the point where you'd normally leave. Not a bad relationship, not a toxic one, but one that's good enough that the only reason you'd leave is fear. And you stay. You work through the discomfort. You see what's on the other side of your usual exit point. You might discover something that actually matters, or you might discover it's not right. But either way, you'll have done something different than your pattern. And that's progress. You build something with someone. A project, a business, a relationship, something that requires coordination and compromise and staying even when it's hard. And you learn that building with someone doesn't mean losing yourself. It means creating something neither of you could create alone. This is the work. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. It doesn't feel natural at first. But it's the only way to end up somewhere other than alone with regrets. You're a Sigma male. That's not changing. But being a Sigma male doesn't mean being alone. It means being independent while choosing connection. Self-sufficient while building interdependence. Comfortable with solitude while creating meaningful relationships. The men who get this right end up with the best of both worlds. The independence they value and the connections that matter. The autonomy they need and the relationships they choose. The strength they've built and the vulnerability they've learned. The men who don't get this right end up exactly where I showed you, alone, full of regrets, wishing they'd made different choices when they had the chance. You still have the chance. The question is whether you'll take it. This message was specifically for Sigma males, because you need to hear it in a way that respects how you think. Not some generic advice about being more social or opening up, but real talk about the specific trap you're walking into and how to avoid it. Your independence is real. Your strength is real. Your way of seeing the world is valuable. But independence without connection is isolation. Strength without vulnerability is brittleness. And a life lived entirely alone isn't actually the life you want, even if it's the life you're building. You have time to get this right, but not unlimited time. Make the choice. Do the work. Build something that matters. Or don't. Keep walking the path you're on, but at least be honest about where it leads. If you're a Sigma male who recognized yourself in this message, drop a comment with understood and tell me which part hit hardest. If you're going to make a different choice, share this with another Sigma male who needs to hear it. We don't do group motivation, but we do share valuable information with people who need it. And if you're going to do the work, start today, not tomorrow. Today. Make one different choice. Stay when you'd normally leave. Share when you'd normally protect. Connect when you'd normally isolate. That's how this changes. One choice at a time. Until next time, choose wisely.